When a child is harmed early in their life, it's going to impact them on a few levels. One, psychologically, it's going to shift what they come to believe about themselves or the world. They may perceive others as threatening. They may perceive themselves as at fault or unworthy of love or kindness or protection.
Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to build new neural connections. So that means that we are able to change and adapt over time. So if you've adapted in a particular way to negative experiences as a young person, it is possible for your brain to build new connections to kind of create an environment of safety for yourself inside.
When I was in my 20s and doing my anatomy degree, I was literally taught that the brain cannot change. Once it's built, that's it. Thankfully now we know very differently. Neuroplasticity is the brain's capacity to change responsive to its environment. Now, sometimes that means our brains change responsive to a trauma environment and we become increasingly vulnerable to threat or fear. But it also means that we can actively use concepts of neuroplasticity to help our brain change in the way we want to be going, so that we are not forever stuck in a state of overwhelm or fear or PTSD, what we might call hyperarousal. We don't have to stay there.
So after a traumatic event, our brain adapts to the situation in order to keep us safe always. And sometimes these adaptations can cause us pain and suffering. The reason that that happens is because your brain, your nervous system is going to do whatever it takes, whatever it thinks it takes to keep you safe. So if that means withdraw from other people and isolate yourself and be alone, even though that's painful for us as human beings who are designed to be in connection with other people, your nervous system is like, no, this is what's going to keep you from being hurt again. And that's the most important thing. That's the most important job that our nervous system has, is to do what it thinks will keep you safe.
When a trauma happens and there is a sympathetic nervous system arousal, adrenaline and cortisol, one of the things we know is that in DNA replication, as we're growing and we're making new cells, it influences DNA replication and it influences then long-term who we are becoming on a biological level. We don't end up at the end of our lives with the same DNA that we had, particularly for folks where there was trauma. DNA replication is directly influenced by being in a prolonged state of trauma or fear, a prolonged state of sympathetic nervous system arousal.
We are able to change and adapt over time. So if you've adapted in a particular way to negative experiences as a young person, it is possible for your brain to build new connections to kind of create an environment of safety for yourself inside. A core belief is an extreme belief you have about yourself and the world and your relationship with other people. So very simply, if you grow up in an environment that is safe, you're going to have a core belief that the world is a safe place, people are good, and I'm okay. On the opposite end, if you grow up in an environment that isn't the best, you can have a core belief that the world is not a safe place, other people are not safe, and I'm not okay. I'm not good enough.
Core belief is one of those things that you hold dear, that you hold very close, and which you use as a guiding principle for making decisions about your life. When we're kids, we don't think about what we believe. We live our lives, we have our experiences, and based on how those experiences feel, we're going to build a core belief. And those core beliefs then begin to change how we behave in the world. If we have a core belief that says, the world is full of exciting things, we're going to be willing to go out there, take a chance, and we might not always succeed, but we are willing to try and be curious. If we have a core belief that says, the world is a scary place, we're going to pull in our energy, we're going to limit our behavior out in the world, and we won't take risks. And that's going to influence our success in the world, that's going to influence our relationships in the world. And as we grow older, it's going to make our world smaller.
So some strategies for promoting neuroplasticity. Definitely self-awareness is important because you can't change what you don't know, but also cultivating different kinds of relationships with people. And this is where therapy can be really helpful. So you can learn to be in a relationship with a safe person who can be reliable, and you can learn what that experience feels like.
Our brain changes responsive to the experience we're having. We can consciously pursue experiences and environments that help our brain heal. This might look like really good therapy, but it could also look like being in relationships where you feel safe, where you feel heard. This can look like taking some risks in environments where you think you might have a good chance of a positive outcome. This can look like taking some chances to try something new. And to be honest, even an orientation, even bringing self-compassion to ourselves can create a new neurological experience, a new psychological experience that is going to help change our brain.
It's important to understand what your core beliefs are and then challenge them when they come up, right? If something bad happens to you again, right? Instead of doing what one normally might do, being like, see, I was right, I'm a terrible person, right? To just kind of bring some mindfulness to the moment, be present in that moment and understand it's just this moment, perhaps, that a bad thing happened, but it doesn't mean that, I'm a bad person, that this happened to me.
To create an alternative or a new core belief, sometimes it means we have to challenge the old core beliefs. If a core belief is really getting in our way, I tend to call it a wounded core belief. It came out of our hurt. It came out of the places in our lives where we were not taken care of well. Those wounded core beliefs, we need to rise up and look at them kind of straight in the eye, a bit like looking at the monster under the bed. And I think we need to look at those core beliefs with some kindness, with some curiosity, because folks often feel ashamed there. And we're going to go in gently and kindly to be like, hey, how did I come to believe this? And at some point, we're going to ask the very difficult question, do I choose to continue to believe this? As adults, we have much more agency over what we believe. As kids, beliefs just come out of experience, but as adults, beliefs come out of consciousness and self-awareness and choice. We really get to look out at the world and think, what do I choose to believe? We also get to look in at ourselves and say, do I choose to believe that wounded core belief? And that's a yes and no answer. And we can wrestle with it, but at some point, we might let go of some of those wounded core beliefs and choose something new.
Redbird Therapy.